thank the member for South West Devon, along with other members for Reigate and for Staffordshire Moorlands, and also Luton North, Lagan Valley, Lowestoft, East Kilbride and Thurrock. They've all made powerful and compelling speeches today, and it's such a shame that some members of some parties simply didn't bother to turn up today. And I welcome the largely constructive tone from the Shadow Minister as well that we've seen today. But can I say something about the tone of the recent debate and the way it's unleashed yet another tide of misinformation and lies? Overnight, Facebook groups have become a sewer of misinformation on the vote last night. I proudly voted for the Children's Wellbeing and Schools Bill last night because it toughens the law to improve child protection and safeguarding. Anything else said about me or my colleagues is a lie. I've made clear to my Rochdale constituents I'm open to a new inquiry into grooming gangs if that's what's most helpful to the victims and survivors, and if, and this is crucial, if it can be done in a way that doesn't conflict with the current live police investigations and prosecutions. Don't forget, and people are forgetting, that the J inquiry had victims and survivors at its very heart. They were built into its process. They were consulted all the way along during the start and during it and after it. Many victims and survivors have said they want that report to be implemented in full. That is their priority. Their clear demand, Alexis J's clear demand, is to get on with it, and that's exactly what this government is doing. In Rochdale, a predominantly Pakistani heritage grooming gang raped our local girls and tarnished our town's good name. Andy Burnham's independent inquiry into the council and police failures in Rochdale was published last year. Like the J report, the Rochdale report listened to victims and came up with recommendations. Crucially, the prosecution and police have been able to get on and pursue further prosecutions as a result. That's what the public want. Locking up these paedophiles, making sure they get the strongest possible sentences and that they're brought to court swiftly, that's the priority. Telford is another excellent example of a local inquiry that builds on the survivors' experience and makes sure that they're involved all the way along. They know what the flaws are, they know what the best solutions are, and how they can be embedded locally and nationally. Now, it's clear from the inquiry we've had through Greater Manchester that the central failure was working-class girls not being believed or respected, and the police thinking that their cases wouldn't stack up in court. That was also the problem in the case of the abuse of boys by Cyril Smith, which I had a role in exposing as a journalist more than a decade ago. Working-class youngsters were simply not believed by the authorities, locally or nationally. And it was this Prime Minister, as Director of Public Prosecutions, who brought in real change to make sure those working-class voices could be heard in court. Now, I'd like to say the additional problem in Rochdale was delays in multi-agency working, social workers and the police not getting their act together, not getting the right specialist help, not spotting the patterns of organised abuse. We need specialists. We need them within police forces, rape specialists, child protection teams. We need to disrupt this wherever it happens and be tough in the sentencing as a result. But what I loathe is this suggestion that this should be a political game. It sickens me to think that politicians can think another party can be damaged by being tarred by the idea of child abuse. I pay tribute to Theresa May for setting up that child abuse inquiry. I pay tribute to the former Prime Minister for setting up the Grooming Gangs task force. We should have a cross-party consensus about this, and we need to maintain it at all costs. Now, it's sad, as I say, to see some members of the party, the Reform Party, simply not here today. A responsible politician does not ride the wave of justified anger about child abuse. What they do is they do something about it. We can have a robust debate about policy, about delays, about action or inaction, but to somehow suggest that someone who disagrees with you is somehow complicit in or endorses child abuse is completely unacceptable. That's the real danger of what's being lost in all this, because politics will suffer and the victims will suffer. I want to pay, finally, particular tribute to Sarah Rowbotham, the former health worker in Rochdale, who later became a Labour councillor, whose tireless work led to the exposure of the grooming gang in our town. Sarah was played by Maxine Peake in the BBC drama Three Girls, the broadcast of which led to huge change and justice for many girls, not just across Rochdale, but across the whole country. Indeed, there's a remarkable effort in Rochdale, a collective movement that has long been at the forefront of protecting women and girls from domestic and sexual violence. Our town is not just a place of resilience, but a beacon of hope, of support of empowerment of those most vulnerable in our society. I'd like to pay tribute to the exceptional individuals leading this work. Calder Malzour, CEO of the Rochdale Women's Welfare Association, Kathy Thomas, CEO of Rochdale Connections Trust, Councillor Samina Zahir, Janet Emsley, Amber Nisa. They've all driven this work. And I must finally pay tribute to the youngsters. Failinge Park High School's White Ribbon Ambassadors and initiatives by the Rochdale Islamic Academy and Girls' School demonstrate how education can play a pivotal role in preventing abuse and changing societal attitudes. Rochdale stands as a testament to what can be achieved when individuals, charities and public institutions unite, and political parties too, for a common cause. Let's honour their efforts, not just with words, but with the continued support that they need to thrive.